Thanks so much. I've learned a lot. So I'm curious about that first year from when you've decided that you were going to do this and your journey of learning. Could you just talk through how you went about that? Because there's so many ways you could do that. You could go and, consult for Boeing and Airbus. You could read textbooks, do Khan Academy. Did you have a regular cadence with people in the industry that you were getting feedback from? And how did that work both on the technical side and as you kind of unraveled the economics of the business?
So that first year, it was really organic. I did a lot of journaling. I basically just wrote every day about where I was at and what was the next thing to focus on. And I spent a lot of time in my basement. It was also sort of just giving myself a year to figure out what you can figure out here. So I wasn't under that much time pressure. But what I tried to do is kind of have a view of where my frontier of knowledge was, and kind of go at the parts that were most needing of work. So started with the fundamental math stuff, and then read textbooks. And when I couldn't understand what they were saying, I'd go read a different textbook. And then I wanted to get a certain amount of depth before I went and actually talked to anybody, because on day one I just had no clue. And when I started to feel like, well, I'm at a point where I could benefit from talking to people, then I started to do that. And then when I was closer to actually starting the business, I built the advisory board before I built the company itself. And so it was like, well, let me go find people who are probably more senior than you'd ever have at this stage of the company, but who can support you in fact checking what you're doing, and then kind of lend credibility to the whole thing. And so we got the former CFO of Virgin America to sign up as one of our first advisors, and he double checked my airline math spreadsheet and told me the assumptions weren't crazy, and he was right, by the way. That was really good. And we got the former head of Lockheed Skunk Works to sign up, and a supersonic propulsion designer, and a handful of other folks that have spanned some folks on the airline side and some folks on the technical side, and they all would kind of hand you your ass when you needed it, and set you straight on stuff. And then I think I mentioned earlier, my favorite interview question was, teach me something. So even if we started to recruit, that lended knowledge.
I'll add something just that you mentioned, I think, from the outside looking in too, that was really fascinating, was I think the mindset was really interesting, where you went in with look, this is probably not possible, so let me just I'm sure if I work on this for 2 weeks, I'll just show that there's some math that means that this can't possibly be true. And I think it's from the outside, it looked like what that did was it didn't frame the problem as I'm going to spend a year figuring this out. It framed it as it's probably 2 weeks to prove that this isn't possible. And then you learn a little bit more and you're like, okay, but it's probably just another 2 weeks to prove that this isn't possible. And chunking it that way also sort of reframe the problem, I think, in an interesting way.
Yeah, that's right. And quite honestly, I spent the first 18 months on this thinking, today will be the day that I find out why this won't work. And there was a business model spreadsheet that I built in 2014 in an Airbnb in Hawaii, and I thought for sure someone was going to find the place where the decimal point was not where it should be, and the market's a tenth of the size I think it is, and but after a year and a half or 2 years of this stuff getting pressure tested, it's well, I think if it were broken we would have found out by now. Oh crap! Now we got to actually go deliver this.